When a family-owned company collapses, it rarely happens overnight. There's usually no sudden market crash or vicious competitor that takes them down. Instead, the failure builds slowly. The structure rots quietly from the inside, often over years, hidden beneath good intentions. From the outside, the narrative is almost always positive. We assume that unbreakable trust, absolute loyalty, and decades of shared history allow these companies to weather economic storms that sink their corporate rivals. We see these emotional bonds as an inherent edge. But inside the operation, those exact emotional bonds strip away standard professional boundaries. When everyone at the table is related, objective accountability disappears, leaving a structural void where performance metrics and hard deadlines should be. The absolute loyalty that keeps the family together becomes a shield for poor performance. The greatest emotional strength of the organization ends up operating as its most fatal operational vulnerability. This vulnerability starts small, usually with the culture of informality. In the startup phase, making quick decisions around the kitchen table is an asset, but as the company scales, that lack of formal structure becomes a liability. To keep the peace at family gatherings, leaders start avoiding uncomfortable business conversations. They delay giving critical feedback or avoid addressing missed targets entirely, and that silence breeds deep, quiet resentment among the rest of the staff. This creates a double standard. Underperforming relatives are shielded from the consequences that apply to everyone else. When top-tier professional talent realizes the rules don't apply evenly, they leave. You even see this informality bleed directly into the finances. Owners will regularly pull from business accounts to cover personal family expenses, operating under the assumption that it's all the same pool of money. Prioritizing family harmony over hard metrics slows down every process. When keeping the peace is the primary objective, the execution engine of the company simply stops running. Academic researchers have a specific term for the structural virus infecting these organizations. They call it hierarchical inconsistency. This chart shows the formal business hierarchy. It operates purely on merit. It has clearly defined roles, objective titles, and logical reporting lines that everyone understands. But running simultaneously in the exact same physical space is the informal family hierarchy. This network operates strictly on age, sibling dynamics, and emotional respect. So what happens on the warehouse floor when the vice president of sales outranks a regional manager on paper, but that manager is actually his older sibling? In the business, the younger brother gives the orders, but at the dinner table, he remains the subordinate. When the formal rules of the business clash with the informal rules of the family, the emotional system almost always wins. It overrides the logic, and the corporate structure collapses. You see this play out in everyday decisions. Imagine a data-backed pricing strategy, developed over months of research, being abruptly canceled simply because a senior relative doesn't feel right about it. The immediate fallout is chaos. Floor teams face conflicting orders, deadlines are entirely missed, and the market loses trust. This dynamic nearly destroyed Lego in the early 2000s. Driven by family decisions rather than market data, the company suffered from an unmanaged, sprawling product catalog and lost its strategic focus. By 2004, the iconic brand was bleeding cash and facing bankruptcy. To survive a tipping point like that, a family business requires a decisive, outside intervention to break the emotional gridlock. They cannot fix the problem using the same kitchen table logic that created it. The first step to recovery is formalizing governance. You have to take the rigid reporting structures and put them on paper. Documenting authority removes the emotional ambiguity from daily operations. Lego survived because the family owners recognized they were the bottleneck. They stepped back, appointed objective, non-family leadership, and slashed the overextended product lines to refocus entirely on their core product. For mid-sized firms, the most practical safeguard is hiring unrelated, unbiased professionals to run human resources. An external HR department can enforce standards and neutralize family drama before it ever reaches the operations floor. Family is only a competitive advantage if the business is treated strictly as a business. The moment you allow emotions to dictate your operations, execution grinds to a halt.